What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Guys of Texas. Just coming off a fresh beatdown at the big house. I wanted to get on here and recap kind of what we saw from the Michigan game. We want to start doing this week after week after the games. We'll recap on Sundays. Looks like on Thursdays we'll try every Thursday to bring out a new episode for the coming up game, and then if we end up going to do lives at the stadium, we'll do that as well. Just trying to come up with different ways to generate content for you guys, get you guys the news out there quicker. And also, I forget everything that happens after once Monday starts and I get back to work. I just forget everything. So, recap the game that happened: Texas 31, Michigan 12. Quinn threw 24 for 36 for 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. Leading rusher actually was Ryan Wingo with 1 carry, 55 yards. Leading receiving, Gunnar Helms, 7 receptions, 98 yards, average of 14 yards per reception with a touchdown. Texas, Johnny Barron did have 1 fumble recovery. Michigan, Davis Warren passing 22 of 33 with 204 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Their leading rusher was Edwards, 8 carries, 41 yards. Leading receiver, Colston Loveland, 8 receptions, 70 yards. And then they did have Loveland did fumble a ball and lost that, picked up by Johnny Barron. This was a smoke show for Texas boys. Like this score does not reflect what it could. We could have put up 50 easy. The second half, we let off the gas pedal a lot and just kind of coasted in the rest of the way. Let them come in, score a touchdown towards the end. But what were your big takeaways from the game?
Yeah, I feel like that stat line, not that that's a good stat line for their quarterback, the 22 of 33, but I feel like that still sounds way better than what was actually happening.
Oh, it sounds a lot better than what it was.
Yeah. It was awesome to watch the first half, watching them actually operate at full strength. It was kind of disappointing to see that they let off the gas so much in the second half because it really could have been just a blowout. I just want to see them stomp Michigan into the ground, but it was still great the first half. But I know I'm probably stealing this from Jono, but Gunnar Helm, man, that was an awesome.
You definitely stole that.
That was awesome. Boy. It's impressive. I mean, I was a big Niblack fan when he transferred over after watching him in Alabama last year. I thought he was going to be our go-to receiving tight end, and Helm stepping in that spot and doing it and looking great. That's really awesome. And our defense, man, that was what everybody complained about our team last year, and so far they look phenomenal. They have stepped up pretty much. Like, I don't even really count the Michigan touchdown at the end of that.
No.
Pretty much haven't allowed a touchdown in 8 quarters of football. It's impressive, really impressive. What about you, Jono?
He didn't really leave you much left.
Yeah. Now, I look at the running back depth. I mean, just seeing how many guys were getting touches in that game was impressive. Blue came out kind of shaken up, and that was, kind of tough to see. We weren't sure if he was going to come back, but luckily he bounced back and looked, pretty well in that second half as well. But seeing Gibson get 10 carries, I mean, true freshman coming into that situation, getting those carries, getting his first career touchdown, super cool to see. And then the obvious, Quinn Ewers, the poise, he never looked rattled. Another impressive away performance. He did it last year in Tuscaloosa. This one was just as impressive and just as tough of a stadium. So seeing him, his poise, his leadership, the team rallying around him, man, it's just, he's got a calm about him. And it's awesome to see right now. He really seems like he's kind of coming into his own. But yeah, man, it was a blast of a game. You try to look at it and see if you can find any negatives to really take away, but you look across the board and we really played well on all fronts of the game. So defensively, secondary, man, we haven't been this confident in a secondary in a long time. So that was super cool to see. Like we said, a lot of those yards were in garbage time. I mean, he was he was at 100 yards at halftime, so he had a lot of these garbage yards here in the fourth quarter. But man, what a fun game to watch as a Texas fan.
Yeah, for me, when you look at it, the game against Colorado State, they had 11 different receivers with at least one reception. The game that happened on Saturday, we had 5 receivers catch. You had Helm with 7 receptions, Bond with 3 receptions, Golden with 6 receptions, Blue with 6 receptions, and Wisner with 2. I mean, Sart narrowed down the field for who was really going to get the touches in this game. I mean, you had just as many people rush the ball as you did receive the ball this game. Complete opposite. 32 total carries for Texas, 22 total carries for Michigan. And, I mean, the thing that I don't want to do is say, hey, look at this secondary, look at our defense. Michigan's offense is bad. I mean, Loveland was all he really had. And he was, if he did throw a deep shot, it wasn't close to anybody. I think he had one. What was the longest that they had? He had a couple. He had 24, 31, 22, 22. But as far as a full-blown deep shot, there was just nothing there. I was impressed.
The accuracy was off a lot.
It wasn't even there. Like, it was – I mean, you have a 0-star Make-A-Wish kid as your quarterback. I'll say it. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot. I mean, we let him play as much as we allowed him to, but it's one of those, like, I want to be cautious about really saying our defense is here because as good as the offense played against our defense is good, but their defense seemed to be good as far as individual players. As far as a team-wise, they didn't seem like a very good defense, if that makes sense. Like, they didn't collectively play well. They have individual players that made a couple good plays, but overall, it didn't seem like they were even cohesive for a defense. So, now, Quinn made them look stupid the whole game. Like, the first series that came out, you could tell everyone was getting their nerves out for this is our first real test of the season. First series – they come out, don't do much. Sark gives them all a hug, says, get back out there, and they went right to work on that second drive. And they were moving the ball very well. I don't know if there's time of possession on here, but it was I feel like we didn't have the ball for very long through that game. Like it seemed like when we had the ball, we were moving it pretty well. But I want to pump the brakes right now on our defense is solidified until we're playing Georgia, guys that can actually sling the ball. I do want to kind of reserve that. However, what we did see, I mean, they weren't allowing a whole lot of deep ball. They were forcing them to run the ball. They weren't giving them many options as far as passing goes, in my opinion. And when they tried to run the ball, they couldn't get much done. They averaged 3.7 yards per carry. The longest carry they had was 12 yards. That was the longest rushing that they had. So the defensive line stepped up really well. They covered the gaps. They didn't give up a deep threat, but again, we talked about there wasn't an accurate gun for that either. But yeah, no, overall, I think it's crazy to me. And we were talking about this during the game. Like, Nyblock was just nowhere to be found. Like, it was a Gunnar Helm show. And he really showed out. Like, I was very impressed. Like, he had a little bit of flash of Jason Witten for me. He got the big white man running. Not very fast, but he can catch the ball and he can get open, which is what Jason Witten made an entire career on. And he looked very, very good in that game.
Yeah, his ability to keep going after contact is surprising.
Yes.
It may not look pretty. He's stumbling, put the hand on the ground, but he just keeps trucking and keeps moving. I like it.
That's what Jason Witten, man. Like, he was the ugliest runner I have ever seen. But that man made catches and would get yards after a catch. Now, towards the end of the career, he would catch the ball and he would fall. That was my biggest concern with Jason Witten towards the end of his career. But it was good to see Gunnar Helm really get himself out there and do that well. Also, Ryan Wingo. That man came fast out of the chutes around that corner.
I was not expecting to be like what we see him come out doing.
That's going to be a problem for teams.
No.
Like that's Deebo Samuel type around the end. Like that's going to be a very big problem. I mean, you saw Worthy do a similar play in the NFL now. So
yeah,
man, I'm excited for our offense is deadly. We're fast.
Yeah.
We're fair. And Wisner, talk about Trey Wisner. Like
it was
the guy
impressive.
He shows up. He stepped up right at Blue gets hurt and steps up.
I was so nervous in that game also when Jaden Blue went to the side, wouldn't put any pressure on his leg. Oh, man, I thought we had another ACL problem. But, man, yeah, immediately Wisner came in and just started pounding the rock, and it was impressive. It didn't fall off.
Speaking of which, the announcers were in just preseason form all game. I don't know if you guys were even paying attention to that, but when Blue went down, Klatt's over there like, yeah, Texas is already hurting that linebacker because Blue went or Baxter went down in before the regular season started, and I was like, what? Like what? And they made blunders like that, like an incomplete, and it's just clear as day a catch. Like what are you guys doing? Like that game call for Fox was not on par for as big a game as that was.
Yeah.
What else you guys get from the game?
I know John already said this, but I want to like kind of reiterate it. It was Quinn. I was just so impressed with like how much more mature he seems, and just like I don't know. You used to see him like hang his head a lot, and just like you could see him like processing, getting frustrated, and he just seemed like he was straight business. Just everything was just operating mechanical, and even like when a play wasn't there, just making the smart decision, stepping away, and just back to business. And that was probably the most impressive part, in my opinion. Like he just looks like he is about it, and I'm really curious if the headset, being able to have Sark in his ear all the time is making that change, or if it's just personal development. But man, it was impressive, really impressive.
Yeah, super fun to see, man. I mean, like you said, we can't take too much off of it because we know that Michigan's offense is pretty bad, but Texas is doing the job they're supposed to be doing so far defensively. I mean, they looked great in week 1, week 2. They really limited Michigan. I mean, Michigan was searching for plays all throughout that first half. Wish we could have put a little bit more up on the board in that second half, but I get it. The game plan was just to kind of run the ball, take the clock down, get some guys some looks. But I wish we could have put a little bit more points up on the board.
ESPN, it was 24-3 at half, and ESPN's putting out Michigan's getting throttled by Texas, and it's like it's 24-3. That's the thing is you look at that score, you're like, it's 24-3. They can come back at any time. No, you could tell like Michigan just had nothing.
Right.
Like they were not coming back from that game at all, and it was apparent from the beginning. Now you got all these Michigan fans eating crow because it ain't steak like they talked about. They are not eating steak. Auburn with a miss. Let's get that out of the system very quickly there, bud. You're a veteran now, basically, on the team. So I'm going to need you to start making sure we're hammering those away. He had his longest was 26 yards. I don't remember how long the one that he missed was.
Dude, I was so confused just now. I thought you were talking about actual Auburn.
Oh,
no. What is he talking about?
No. Carrot Top Jr.
Yes.
Carrot Top Jr. I'm
the first one he missed was let's see here, 43-yard miss.
43, yeah. And he missed it by the second it hit the foot. It was gone. But no, I was watching videos of the game after, and the Eyes of Texas was very, very loud in that stadium. I highly regret not going to that game now.
Watching the videos, I like went back and like double checked. I was like, is this like edited to like bump up the volume? Because dude, it was loud, and it was impressive to see how many people were there because it didn't look like it during the game.
They're all spread apart.
Well, I think they were all in their. They don't have all that cold weather gear. I don't know what the temperature was, but you could tell the Texas fans were bundled up a little bit. They've been in this 100-degree heat. We did get the cold front here. It hit, what is it? Hit 58 degrees this morning. Whew.
That was nice.
Yeah,
That's
I
nice.
turned the heater on at that point around here. But yeah, no, being up in Michigan, that's a heat wave over there. So I'm sure the fans weren't exactly ready for. I saw Texas fans in toboggans. I don't know what the kids call them these days. We call them beanies, but toboggans, beanies. What else? What's another slang for that? Okay, good. We're all on the same page. Okay, good. There's a couple other ones, and I was like, what? Like, no. No, overall, Texas does move to number 2. What did Michigan drop to? Unranked?
I didn't look at that earlier.
Michigan is at 17.
Really?
Wow. So they dropped Michigan about seven spots. That's tough.
Yeah. So I didn't even realize Michigan only punted 2 times in that game. This whole play clock thing is, and I didn't pay attention to it, but I saw a story on this that the play clock isn't starting until like 4 or 5 seconds after the in NFL, runner goes down, it's whistled dead, that play clock starts like immediately. Now, from what I've been seeing, is the play clock doesn't start for another 5 or 6 seconds. Like the game clock is actually ticking, and I think that's what's running the clock off of a lot of these games. Is that now we're getting more commercial breaks with the 2-minute warning and everything else, so it's extending that time. But I do think we're losing a little bit more time, and I think they're trying to balance that with that 2-minute warning that we have now. I think Seth brought this up at the first game, but when do you guys think they switch NFL rules for kicking to college? I don't think it happens. I think but what do you guys think?
I think it happens.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna get a big injury on a kickoff this year in college, and then everybody's gonna be lobbying for it. This is why we shouldn't do it. This is why we should do it this way. Because, I mean, so far it's so good with NFL this week. I haven't really seen any injuries, but I also haven't really seen any kick returns either. So I know they were trying to balance that out too. But I think it's just a matter of time. It's all about player safety, and it's just one of those that's gonna. It's kind of the obvious. I feel like it's coming, but we'll see.
I saw a lot of they're leaning away from, like, they're calling targeting on the field, but it seemed like throughout last week, like last Saturday's games that I watched, that they're leaning towards the let them play type mentality versus the, hey, that's crown on the helmet. Nope, that's what the rules say. Eject them. There was a couple of them that last year, I feel like it would have been a 2-second review. Hey, that's targeting. You're gone. And didn't see a lot of that yesterday, especially some of them that were called. Like one, it was clearly the guy was just going to wrap up a running back, and they just immediately called it. And it's like, okay. And I think actually that happened during our game. That was a graphic that they pull up a graphic of what 6 inches is on the crown of the helmet. I was like, okay, like how are we going to measure that? But yeah, it seemed like they were, the refs were kind of going away from that. And let's also be clear, that game, Michigan got a lot of calls during that game too. Like there was a few calls that were very questionable. And if that would have been a close game at all, this could have been a whole different story, because there were definitely questionable calls. Like there were some holds that just weren't being called. The first hold that was called on us, that the guy was just getting worked on, and they called a hold on us. It was like, okay. Like that's football. But no, overall, I think the kicking wise, I still don't know if I like this new NFL rule. I don't know. It's starting to grow on me. But it gives me a arena football vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It'll be the norm. You won't even think about it.
Yeah, it'll take a season.
Let's talk about the other chaos that happened this week, because there was a lot. We'll just go one by one. Georgia number 1 against Tennessee Tech, 48-3. This game, I don't know. Like, I feel like Georgia should have won by a lot on this. I didn't really watch the game, but I mean, only being up 24-0 against Tennessee Tech. All of them, I have cousins that all went to Tennessee Tech. That is not a sports college. I get you're not trying to run up the score, but I mean, I'm hoping this is. By the time we see Georgia, we're hoping it's 1-2. But the way they have seemed to be playing, they've got Alabama. Let's see, who do they have coming up? They've got Kentucky next week, which Kentucky looks terrible. They look like a completely different football team. Last year they were decent. So far, what we've seen this year, not so much at all. But then they've got Alabama, and then Auburn, then Mississippi State, and then into the game at Texas. Let's see. Do they have a bye week? Yeah, it looks like they have a bye week after Kentucky. So they'll have one bye week there, and then after our game, they will have another bye week, which I believe we have a bye week right after then as well. But Georgia, verdict is still out on how well Georgia is. Obviously, they're good. I don't know how good. Ohio State looks decent against Western Michigan. That's another game, though, that you're just like, eh. Let's see. Alabama, South Florida. This game, 42-16. This game was a whole lot closer than what that score shows.
Right?
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
This game was a whole lot closer than that. Like, Alabama finally turned it on at the end. Milroe passing yards, 194 for 2 TDs. Miller, their running back, with 140 yards. But
yeah,
watching that
they
game,
scored the last 28 in the last quarter.
Yeah, Alabama fans were losing their mind after they were talking trash about Michigan not deserving anything. And well, number one, you guys got beat by Michigan last year. Number two, you almost got beat by South Florida today or on Saturday. So Alabama looks shaky. That's going to be interesting to see how them and Georgia play. Milroe is still a question mark to me. He's not going to be a Heisman candidate to me like he thought he should have been last year. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's top. I don't think he's elite.
Zach. I don't see him as an elite quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback for sure.
I think he's good.
Watching that game, man. Yeah, there was like, what was it, 5? There's like 5 minutes left in that game, and it was like a 5-point game.
Yeah.
I mean, there was still Milroe fumbled that snap right at the goal line. I don't know why he got under center. They were talking about that. They were like, when does Milroe play under center? And then you try to put him under center at the goal line, ends up fumbling it. But yeah, that game was way closer than what it showed. They really opened it up in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I forget what I was doing, but like the whole time, because that was one of my picks, is that they weren't going to cover the spread. And the whole time I was like, I called it. And I felt like I didn't look at my phone for 20 minutes and pulled it back up. I was like, what in the world just happened?
Yep.
So, that was crazy.
I think you actually did cover the – let's see. No, you did not.
Yeah, I don't think it did.
Yeah, they were plus 31.
Yeah.
Wait, did they cover that? 31. Yes, they did barely cover. Yes. But by the skin of their teeth. I mean, as close as that game was, like, it got out in quick. But, yeah, I mean, Alabama tried to give that away. Speaking of giving things away, Notre Dame.
Wow.
So the question now becomes,
how bad
who is A&M? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, Northern Illinois went to Notre Dame and beat them.
28-point dogs. 28.5, I believe, was what the closing line was. That's crazy,
plus
man.
2,200 to win that game.
Did you see that interception that they had there at the end of that game too?
Yes.
I mean, it was just awful. It's an awful throw. I don't know what Notre Dame was doing, man. That was bizarre. I mean, props to Northern Illinois, because they came ready to play for sure.
Yeah.
dang, man, what was Notre Dame doing with some of those offensive calls?
It was a cool moment to watch the coach at the end of the game do his interview.
Absolutely.
Like that's what college football is about. Like those kids will never forget this game. This was their Super Bowl. Like they know they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but I mean, beating a top 5 team, even though it's Notre Dame, they always have a top seed at the beginning of the year, and they always end up giving it away. It's crazy to come from A&M and beating them in their own house to going to your own house and losing to Northern Illinois. Like that's wild.
Everybody was tipping their hats to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Talking about most impressive game of the week. It was
they're back.
Everything, and then this.
Yeah, jeez. They were talking about they're back. Like Notre Dame hasn't. Like their defense is great. Well, you gave up 16 points to NIU. So Ole Miss rolls through Middle Tennessee.
Dude, Ole Miss has the easiest schedule, by the way.
Yeah, I
was talking with Jaron and started realizing, like, dude, they have a clear, easy path to. I mean, what challenges do they have?
Yeah, so Middle Tennessee. So next they have Wake Forest. Then they go to Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina, Oklahoma, or LSU. They have LSU at LSU. That'll be atmosphere and everything. That'll be somewhat of a challenge right now. LSU's not very good still. Oklahoma they have, who looks like dog water. Like they have no offense. I don't know what we'll talk about that here in a minute. Arkansas is always that team that they always cover and they always put themselves in the game somehow. The team is always mediocre and they always somehow just ride back in. I know you keep saying I love Arkansas. I don't.
You gave me a hard time about Penix last year. I feel
absolutely.
Like this is your Penix.
I'm just saying. This is always Arkansas, though. You talk to any Arkansas fan, they always cover, and they always figure out a way to lose a game at the end. Like always, it's just what they do. And so, Arkansas game maybe. Then they play Georgia, and then they have Florida, Mississippi State. So realistically, LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia are the only 3 hard games at all, any close. Yeah, I mean that's why I have them winning the SEC this year. Oregon, Boise State. Oregon's just squeaking by again. And
they dropped in the poll again.
Yeah, that was a super close game.
Yep. Are they? Let's see. They are now.
They dropped another 2 spots.
Let's see.
Yeah, would they put them at 9 now?
I'm opening that up right now.
Yes,
so they are 9. So top 10 is Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, Penn State, Oregon. Which Penn State? I don't know if Miami. I'd put Miami over Penn State right now. USC, I'd put over. Man. Yep, USC, I'd put over Penn State and Oregon. Utah, barely beat Baylor. Like Baylor was hanging in there for quite a while. Oklahoma State at 13, Kansas State at 14, Oklahoma at 15. Oklahoma should have lost that game. Like I was watching that game and I was like, man, like how do we not railroad them come October? Like this team, it looks like it's going to be another 49-0 route. Like tickets are going to go cheap again. We're going to be able to buy them in the end zone for $75 and just go sit in the Sooner section and be loud again over there. Like Oklahoma is going to have to turn it around real quick. Who do they have coming up before us?
And they lost their 3 starting wide receivers. They were like throwing to backups the whole time.
Yeah, but
I told my friend, you look at their schedule, they have Tulane next week, and then they have Tennessee the following week.
Yeah.
I told my friend, I was like, OU's going to have 2 losses going into Texas OU. I mean, they lose 2 out of the 3. They got Auburn before us as well. I know Auburn just lost 2, but still, those are 3 tough games. I was texting my friend that's an OU fan, and he texted me towards the end of that Oklahoma game. He said, "Oh God, are we the new Iowa?" Like punting and defense is all they were doing. They got safety at the end of the game, and that's really how they pulled away there at the end. I don't even know if you'd say pull away, but snuck by. But man, that Oklahoma offense, that's bizarre seeing that We got so used to seeing an explosive OU offense for so long, and now there's nothing there right now.
No, they look very bad against bad teams. I mean, Houston's bad. Like, who did they play the week before?
Temple.
They played Temple and they looked decent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. No, not who did Houston play before?
Oh,
Houston didn't play. No. Houston played UNLV and got smoked by UNLV. Which let's talk about that for a second. How are you gonna have a turnover slot machine? Like, how does NCAA allow that to happen? I saw that video.
I like it.
Wait, what? Do you win something? Like, oh, hey, you win a car. That would be sick.
I think that's where you draw the line.
That would be cool. Like, hey, get a turnover, spin the slot machine, and let's see if you win a car. Like, that would be like, put a real machine in the game. Let's make it happen.
All your boosters are just like putting things for the machine.
That'd be pretty sick.
That would be really, really cool. Make it happen. So let's see. I've lost all. There we go. Penn State, Bowling Green, 34-27. Like, this week was like, we all went into this week. We were like, cool. Like, this will be a boring week. Nope. Yeah. Like, you had number 5 go down. You had all these top 10 teams. Like, so you had 2 top 10 teams fall out. You had Penn State barely win. You had Alabama cutting it close at the end. This was a weird week.
Yeah. I was at a baby shower and couldn't keep up with all the craziness that y'all were texting about. Just like, what am I missing right now?
Yeah, it was bizarre, man, because even like the LSU game was close for a while. I mean, in the third quarter, that was like a 5-point game or something like that. So I was flipping back and forth between all these games, trying to figure out what was going on. And then we pulled up that UTSA game, and they just got absolutely smoked by Texas State. It was like a 2-point line on that game, and I think it ended up like 52-10 or something like that.
Yeah, it was an absurd.
What happened?
Next week is just gonna. Next week's gonna be crazy, but so Utah drops. Also, I will say, this whole DirecTV thing has been a godsend, because I am one of those, like, I just don't want to switch ever. And the only reason I have DirecTV is to watch the Rangers, because it's the only place I can watch them up until next year, and to watch the Red Zone. Now the Red Zone's out everywhere. I have now found the YouTube quad view, and it's changed my life. Screw both of you for not telling me about this, because now I was watching some college football yesterday, boys. Like,
you signed up for YouTube TV?
Yeah. I got the free trial. I'm calling DirecTV tomorrow. I'm getting rid of it, and I am now not old anymore and getting rid of satellite.
Streaming now. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm moving up in the world now. It's one of those times in your life where you're like, okay, this is when I'm old. When I'm like, do I leave the satellite to go to a service? It's been around for about 6 years now. Maybe not that long, but it's been around for a while. Everyone's like, you still use DirecTV? It's like, yes. Well, I'm kind of pigeonholed, because Bally Sports has screwed everybody and won't release the Rangers. Next year it will happen. So, yeah, quad view is now the only way to go.
That's great.
Miami looked really good. Miami's looking like a solid football team right now.
Solid.
USC is looking like a solid football team. Shut out Utah State 48-0. Tennessee, NC State. That I don't know what the hype in that game was. Like,
Tennessee looked good. They've really looked good to start the season.
Dude, going over this list, even it justifies what I'm going to say. How crazy quiet is Mizzou sitting at 6?
Yes.
Like, nobody's talking. Like, we all knew it coming out of last season they were good, but like, still nobody's talking about them, and they're sitting there at 6. That's crazy.
Yeah, they jumped 3 spots this week. They were 9 last week.
Yeah, I mean, they had a shutout over the weekend, so But yeah, they have been super quiet. Did you see how many SEC teams are up in that top 10? I mean, right now it's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 15 and 16. So that's that's crazy. It's going to be a bloodbath towards the end of the season when all these teams are going to face each other.
Exactly. That's the other thing. It's like we're all about to beat each other up a little bit. Let's see. Oklahoma State, Arkansas. We talked about Oklahoma, Houston. Screw Oklahoma. Like, they're trash. They're going to get railroaded this year. Like, they may not make a bowl game.
All they have is Brendan Thompson, man.
Yeah. It's not good. Oklahoma State, Arkansas. Arkansas owned this game up until the third and fourth quarter. Like, the first half, they just dominated. And then they just let Oklahoma State come right back in true Arkansas fashion. There's nothing really to say about Arkansas. That's just who they are. Kansas State. Ollie Gordon wasn't even the leading rusher in that. Like, Arkansas had Jackson, 24 carries for 149 yards, 3 TDs. Holy smokes. Kansas State, Tulane, like 34-27.
That was a fun game. I watched the tail end of that. Telling you, man, I think Tulane's going to give OU troubles next week. They looked pretty good against what I thought was a pretty good Kansas State defense. Tulane was able to move the ball much better than I anticipated.
At some point, you got to sit back and think and go, okay, is this NIL? Is that the reason why all this is happening? Like, why are all these small schools all of a sudden in the middle of all these big games? Like, you're going against big money powerhouses. I don't know if that's fluke or if that could be something to do with it. Then these guys now can go get money somewhere else, and that's why they're going to go play there. Like, they're not really playing for championships anymore. They know that there's only one team that's going to win the championship, and those are going to be the top star recruits. So a lot of these smaller schools are now possibly getting these decent names that they're just being paid to be there. Like, I wonder how much that affects it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, also transfer portal. I know there's
that's a big thing too.
There's so many people that go into the transfer portal and don't come out, but with the NIL, I do feel like it's shuffling a lot of kids from, okay, you're not going to be a starter at the top tier program, and they're more inclined to be happy about going to a smaller program and thriving there. Getting paid, get to start. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of money, what's going on with Colorado?
Dude,
I thought you were about to read an ad right there.
I know.
Speaking of money,
we'd like to thank her. Yeah, I do actually have a sponsor. It's our new dog business that we just opened.
There we go.
If you need us to dog sit for you, hit the Facebook page. Yeah, I'll have Sarah start sending sponsorship money.
Nice.
No, dude, I blew that pick for sure. I still don't know if Nebraska's good. That's the thing. I mean, they look good, but is Colorado a 4-8 team? Like, let's be real. Like, they snuck by last week, and then, dude, Colorado just looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. I
forgot you took Colorado.
Yeah, you did.
Bad pick, man.
Well, I didn't think Nebraska was good. I still don't know if Nebraska.
I mean, I didn't know if Nebraska was that good, but you could see from the week before, Colorado is just the play calls that Sanders was making, Dion was making at the end of that game was wild to me. Like, you're up, you've got the ball with 2.5 minutes left, and you're trying to throw 40-yard passes. Yeah. Like, I don't understand what he's doing, and the coaching is just. It's a show now. Like, that's all it is. And now it's really starting to come to light. Like, I like the way he went in and like built a program, like building a program as far as like, it's cool to see the business aspect of it, to like where you're getting fans to show up, you're generating that hype, but eventually you're going to have to figure out how to actually keep those people there, because winning is the only thing that's going to keep those people there. I mean, I guess you can do it for concerts and like just have halftime shows and everything and people will still come, but it's one of those, football wise, it's just not a good product he's putting out on the field. And I don't know what changed from Jackson State to over here. it's just Jackson State, they're playing a different football. Like you're not playing Nebraska's
level.
Like
I mean, you have Travis Hunter at Jackson State,
which that's what's great. Travis Hunter is like a god in football. Yeah. The guy is so good.
Busted my parlay last night because he didn't get a single touchdown.
So did you have an anytime touchdown for him?
Yeah.
So here's a question. Does an interception for a touchdown count as a touchdown for that?
I don't think
doubt
so.
it.
If it's anytime touchdown, as long as it's not a reception touchdown.
I wish I could have found out. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be cool to find out. But the man's so good. Guy, I wonder how it's going to translate in the NFL, but he's very good. I think it's stupid to have him playing both sides of the ball, though. Like, I get it. He's that good, and you need him. But you're going to wear that kid out. Like, no one can sustain that. Like, it's just too much for somebody. Like, I think
imagine him with a good team.
I know.
Just imagine him with a good team right now, what he would be doing. His frustration, you could see him. I mean,
oh yeah,
he was so pissed off in that game because he wasn't getting the looks. But I was just thinking, man, imagine him on a Texas team or an Ohio State of how
Michigan even,
even Michigan for real. They need him.
What was up with Shador going to the locker room?
Yeah. With like 2 minutes left.
2 minutes early, and he went back to the locker room.
Was it an injury, or was he just not trying to deal with the fans?
That ain't no injury. No.
It cracked me up in the video showing him walk back to the locker room, and some fan just came right over the mic. He's like, "What time is it?"
What do y'all think about little Mahomes 2.0 there in Nebraska? Dude, he does everything the same as Mahomes. Did you see that?
It's crazy.
His pregame, the way he looks, his warm-ups, the way he walks, even. Like,
if it translates,
it's wild. I mean, he did okay. He
get a sponsorship deal at this point. Like, have Mahomes sponsor you. Like, he's got his own brand. If he was playing at Texas Tech, he for sure would have that brand logo on him. Like, they just crown him. That would be funny. Somebody needs to play Texas Tech because, speaking of which, they're dog water too.
Yeah, they got dropped. They got dropped by Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State.
37-16.
Yeah.
That wasn't even close.
Clemson decided to turn on the Jets 66-20.
They put up 50. They put up 52 points, I think, in a half.
Yes, they put up 56 points in a half.
That's unreal, dude. I was not expecting that.
No one was after what we saw against Georgia. But even their defense gave up 20 points still. Like, I don't know.
If y'all saw that. Did y'all watch that Iowa State-Iowa game?
No.
I don't know if you saw the end of that, but they put up, I think it was 13 unanswered to win the game in the last 15 minutes, last quarter of the game. Iowa State came all the way back.
Yeah, they kicked 2 field goals. They kicked a field goal at the end to win it, right?
Yeah, it was like a 55, 54-yarder.
And on top of that, even if they didn't kick it, Iowa was favored by 2.5. Yeah. So even if they hadn't hit that, like, whoever bet Iowa minus 2.5 was not winning that no matter what, which is crazy that Vegas can just pick these lines. Like, it's so weird.
It's rigged.
Louisville smokes Jacksonville State. Georgia Tech loses to Syracuse. Good call, Seth. I believe you called it straight up too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a heater week. Needed that to catch back up. Nebraska minus 6.5. Arkansas plus 10, and Houston plus 28.
Did you hit all 3 of yours?
Yeah, he went through.
I hit. Yes, I did.
I'm gonna stop betting against Arizona State because apparently they're a decent football team this year. Yeah. I mean, even that game, whenever I turned it on, Arizona State was up 30-3, and Mississippi State came back and made it somewhat interesting in the fourth quarter, but surprising. Again, I gotta stop betting against them. But I think they do play. They come to San Marcos next week to play Texas State. So we'll see about that one. But yeah, I'm 0-2 against betting against Arizona State.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know why, but I had actually meant like I wanted to pick Arizona State for the Big 12 champion. For whatever reason, I just switched to Oklahoma State, and I have no idea why. That's not going to win at all. Oklahoma State is, although you don't know, like that.
Yeah.
Big 12 is literally going to be a coin flip of who. There's probably 7 teams that could win.
Yeah,
the Big 12 championship. There. Let's see. So Jono had Mississippi State over ASU. You had Colorado over Nebraska, and your one win was Boise State to cover 19 points, which they did.
They did.
Seth had Syracuse straight up. App State did not get their plus 16.5, and then South Florida did cover their 31. Let me make sure I did this right. Yeah, you had one loss last week. So you were 2-1. You both were 2-1. I was 1-2. I'm now at 4-2 with Seth at 4-2, and Jono is 3-3 now. So we'll have to do those picks next week and start really ramping it up. What else do you guys have? Boy, we had a big day of football today too. Holy cow! Texans look decent.
Yeah.
Cowboys looked. I mean, the Browns look bad, but the Cowboys look good.
Dak Overshown leading that defense.
Overshown looked really good. I'm so glad he's here now. Finally, after losing him last year, like finally able to play. He looks very slim in that number 11 too. Like it looks. I like the number. It looks good. Oh, speaking of which, that big fellow we got, number 15. We got to get his jersey switched up. Like we can't.
The lineman.
Yeah, we can't be allowing that to happen anymore. Like, gonna have to change that number, big fella. Who is? I need to look that up.
Is that Connor Stroh?
15. No, it's Bill Norton.
Oh, okay. The transfer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, from Memphis, Tennessee, Georgia, Arizona. Yeah, 15 is not. Arizona. 335 pounds does not look good with a number 15. No, sir. No, sir. What else we got? I lost
game day coming to South Carolina. Did you see that?
Oh, is that where they're going?
We're going to the South Carolina LSU game. Not super exciting. I mean, it's kind of like, I think it's the main thing is they didn't want to do another Fox big noon game because that's Wisconsin and Bama, which that'd be kind of fun to see Madison, Wisconsin get game day there. But they ended up going with South Carolina LSU, which is kind of, I don't know, just doesn't have that pull.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. That would be the spot.
We can talk about Isaiah Bond screwing me this week. I needed 4 yards.
4 yards short.
In the second half, I needed 4 yards. And that last drive, I needed Quinn to just put a better pass on there. Like, I just needed 4 yards, dude. Like, 5-leg parlay, win $400, hit everything else. That one hurt a lot. Jono with the call of the first touchdown. Go Gunner.
No, I called that last week.
Yeah, he went back to the well. Anything else you boys got for recapping?
No, I think that pretty much covered it all.
Yeah, it was a fun week, man. A lot of fun games. We thought it, like I said before, we thought it was going to be a boring week, but it actually turned out to be a really fun week with seeing some of these upsets and some of these tight games, seeing some of these top teams get pushed late in the game. It's fun to see. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. We're going to have a couple slow weeks for us, looks like, but we'll muscle through it, get ready for Mississippi State. Other than that, we'll see you guys later on in the week. Until then, hook 'em, boys.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.